Welcome to the real world. My name is Cameron. Today we are talking about Captain America: Brave New World. This is our full spoilers review, so only watch this if you've seen the movie. I'm going to spoil everything about the film, all the plot details, everything that happened. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get started. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Real World YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos. We're huge movie fans, and we are huge fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, an unprecedented franchise that's gone on for over 15 years now, over 30 films. This is absolutely incredible that it is still going. Although it may not be as strong as it once was, it is still going. People are still interested. These movies still make a ton of money. Deadpool and Wolverine last year made over $1 billion at the box office. Captain America: Brave New World is getting mixed reviews, but it's doing very, very well at the box office over this long weekend. So, let's talk about it. This movie, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of developments for the universe as a whole, for the characters specifically. So we're going to get into it in detail and talk to you about what we thought of the latest MCU movie. All right, folks, so starting off, one of the biggest things that, the film reveals, or I guess you could say the marketing reveals, really the biggest problem with this movie is the marketing. If the marketing had been totally different, I think I would have come away with a very different point of view on the film. So the first thing it revealed, of course, all the marketing was centered around the Red Hulk. Red Hulk is a new character introduced in the film, played by Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who is now the President of the United States at the beginning of the movie. And he's taking over the role, of course, from the late William Hurt, who showed up as the character in several of the other films that we'll talk about in just a moment. But yeah, he becomes Red Hulk at the very end of this movie. The final act is all about him transforming into the Red Hulk, and he battles Captain America. And this is a big problem because when you reveal the final act of your film in the trailer, that is a big issue because the entire movie builds to this moment. And when we've already seen it several times in the trailers, it sort of deflates all the tension in the movie. So the movie does a good job building to that. However, all of the audience members already knew it was coming. And so when you already know something is going to happen in a movie, and the movie is building to that thing, it's a big problem because it deflates all the tension and it doesn't make it nearly as exciting as it should be. So that was a big misstep as far as the marketing goes. Teasing it is one thing. Teasing that Red Hulk might be in it, that's one thing. But what they decided to do here was a big, big misstep. I personally would have geared all the marketing towards Sidewinder and the Leader. Both great characters in the film, played by Giancarlo Esposito and Tim Blake Nelson. Tim Blake Nelson reprising the role from The Incredible Hulk, which is years out from that movie now. But this movie very much is a follow-up to that film. So that's a big problem that the movie has, is the whole Red Hulk angle and focusing everything on that when that's actually the end of the movie. It should have happened in the first act of the film, and then it should have become something else. But that's not what they decided to do, which is unfortunate. So, not the movie maker's fault. Again, it's the marketing team's fault. That department, unfortunately, is not really tied in with the main unit of the film. And so, I wish directors and writers and producers had a little bit more say in how the film was marketed. But unfortunately, they don't. So, that was a big misstep here. But another thing that they do, other than the Red Hulk, that's kind of the big development there with Ross's character. But the other thing is, adamantium is introduced. Now, adamantium is, of course, the metal that is used to build Wolverine. Wolverine's skeleton and claws are made of this metal, which is indestructible. And that's the big new introduction to this universe, is that adamantium is now available to everyone because adamantium comes from Tiamat, who is the celestial entity that was coming out of the earth at the end of the film Eternals. So this film is also tied into Eternals quite heavily because what they title Celestial Island is sort of the main plot point of this movie. All the nations in the world are trying to, grab up as much adamantium as they can. And so there's this treaty that President Ross is behind that will kind of settle things down and give everyone access to adamantium. So that's a big element of the movie that's really good, and I think it should have maybe even been more of the focus than it was. It's sort of just the plot point that kind of drives the thing forward. The Serpent Society is also introduced. Giancarlo Esposito, as I mentioned, is in the film. He plays Sidewinder, who is the leader of the Serpent Society. This is a huge organization in the comic books, sort of terrorist organization that Captain America finds himself facing off against time and time again in the comic book. So it was great to see them on screen finally. Back, I remember, in Phase 3, before we knew what the third Captain America film was going to be titled, when they announced it, it was announced as Captain America Serpent Society. And that was, of course, a red herring. The title was actually Civil War, and they revealed that later on. But it was great to see them in the movie finally. Sidewinder is a great character, Giancarlo Esposito. I wish he had more screen time because what he does in the film is fantastic. So that was well done. We have Ruth Bat Seraph, another new character in the comics known as Sabra, is in the film. She was fine. She wasn't very compelling. They kind of changed her backstory to make her a former Black Widow. So that was sort of interesting. She's Ross's kind of right-hand woman in the movie. And she does a fine job. The actress did a fine job. I just wasn't particularly interested in the character. I didn't necessarily care to see much more of her after the movie was over. A big cameo in the movie does happen late in the film. None other than Sebastian Stan as Bucky is back. That's right, the Winter Soldier is back on screen for one scene he has with Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson. They, of course, are very closely knit characters who had their own series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, on Disney+. And so it made sense for him to show up here. Even though it was a brief scene, it was a very touching scene, an emotionally engaging moment. But at the end of the scene, they undercut it with a joke, and it sort of deflates all the tension, and the dramatic weight of the scene is kind of swept out from under it. And if you want to check out my non-spoiler review, I talk a little bit about that there. But it was great to see Bucky back. It was great to find out that he's running for Congress, so he's got a political aspiration here, which is really interesting, and I'm curious to see how that's going to play out in the future, particularly in Thunderbolt, which is the next film that is going to be released, which Bucky has a huge role in. So very curious to see where that ends up going. The other big cameo in the movie was from none other than Liv Tyler, back as Betty Ross. That's right, Thaddeus Ross's daughter shows up in this movie. She's a presence throughout the film. He keeps referencing her, talking about his relationship with her. That's kind of driving his whole motivation in this movie. And that's what added a lot to the film. You know, we hadn't seen him mention her in any of the other iterations since The Incredible Hulk when they shared the screen together. And this was great. This was great payoff to that. And I think it was really compelling. It was a well-played scene, a very simple scene, but very well done. Great to see Liv Tyler back on the big screen. She hasn't acted in a while, so I hope she comes back again as Betty Ross in the near future. Maybe even sharing a screen with Mark Ruffalo, who of course is Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk himself. The leader, of course, is the other big villain in the movie. He's sort of the puppet master behind the scenes throughout the film. They do a great job with his character. I liked every scene he was in, pretty much. There were a couple scenes that you could tell were reshoots. That was kind of a bit of a letdown, but I think what they did with him overall is really cool and really compelling and exactly what I wanted from the leader in the MCU. The design of the character is different from what we've seen in the past. I think it works really well. It's a bit more grounded than the giant cranium that he has in the comic books, but it's very effective and it's creepy. And I think it works really well. It's also practical. It's not digital. So I think that is something that they are to be commended for. Really glad that Nelson came back in that role. He's such a great actor. And I'd like to see more of him. So going back to Red Hulk, we're going to make it come full circle now. Because Red Hulk, again, he's sort of the central figure of the film in many ways. In that he's been a big part of the marketing ever since that first trailer. And again, he does not come in until the very last act of the movie. He's on screen for, I would guess, maybe 10 minutes of screen time, if not less. It's a big action sequence, him, fighting Captain America at the White House in DC, and it's really, really well done. The action scene is great. It's super exciting and interesting and brutal and intense to watch. But again, it's only about 10 minutes of screen time. So unfortunately, when you market your movie that this is the big Red Hulk movie, and he doesn't show up until the very last act, only on screen for 10 minutes, that's a problem. And I hope the marketing department learns from this that you really need to save certain things. And I know they're afraid of it leaking online and all of these types of things, but still, I think as audiences, we would rather not know. We would rather be kept in the dark. We want to be surprised at the theater. But that didn't happen here. Really no surprises at all, as far as I'm concerned. They even, let it out there that the leader was in the movie and all these different things. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where I think they just gave away too much in the marketing, and it really ended up hurting the movie, because the movie itself builds to the Red Hulk moment very effectively. So that's why I'm sort of two minds on it, because the movie itself did a good job with Red Hulk, but the marketing promised something that the movie wasn't. So this becomes a big problem with films with expectations going in. I wish I could be one of those people that just avoids all trailers. It's really hard for me to do that, but that's sort of the best way to go. If you don't know anything about this movie going in, I think you'll like it a lot more than someone like me who knew a lot about it going in. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. Let's talk about the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene, of course, there is one post-credit scene after all the credits roll. You get one final scene, and it totally falls flat. And I think the reason for this is because when we've had post-credit scenes in the past, specifically I'm talking about Phase 1, Phase 2, they were introducing new characters in those scenes. They were setting up future storylines. The post-credit scenes were vital. If you hadn't seen the post-credit scene, then you got to go back and watch the movie again, because you missed something big that they were setting up, or a new character that came in. Think about Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man. I mean, that was such a huge surprise and set up something so much bigger than what we were expecting. I think about Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, at the end of Winter Soldier. I mean, that was a huge moment. So things like this that really got us pumped for what was coming next. The most recent post-credit scenes have not done that at all. A few of them have introduced new characters. This one, I think, is sort of the textbook post-credit scene, where it's the bad guy, the leader, meeting with Captain America again, meeting him in jail, and talking about how there's a multiverse out there and there's other worlds and they're coming, and it's very vague and very sort of something's going to happen, but we don't really know what it is. I guess some people, you could interpret it as there's the evil Avengers are coming or something like that. If you really want to kind of pick it apart, what things that he said and things like that, but it kind of didn't really do much for me as far as post-credit scenes go, where I'm coming out of the theater going, whoa, that's crazy. I can't wait to see what they do with that. This was just sort of a basic dialogue scene between two characters. And it was, the actors did as good as they could with the material, but the material just wasn't up to par. So unfortunately, that kind of fell flat for me in the theater. A lot of the post-credit scenes now, they just seem sort of vague, poorly conceived, thrown together. Oh yeah, we need that post-credit scene. Let's have them say something about the multiverse and whatever. It seems very inconsequential. And maybe it'll be consequential in the future. I don't know. But it doesn't seem that way right now. It just seems like more of the same, unfortunately. So, look, we're in desperate need of a great Marvel movie again. This, unfortunately, was not it. But I have hope for the future, with Thunderbolts coming in May and the Fantastic Four First Steps arriving in July. 2 more Marvel films coming out this year. Very interested to see what they end up doing with those. At this point, I've abandoned the Disney Plus series. I think most of those fell flat. A couple of them I liked, but most of them I think have been a kind of a waste of time, to be quite honest. So, done with all that, but I will check out the movies in theaters. I'm still a huge fan of these characters and this world that they've built, and very interested to see where they go with it in the future. So let us know what you think of this movie. I mean, maybe you're on the totally different side from me. Maybe you really enjoyed all of it. Let me know why in the comments below. I want to know what your favorite things were about Captain America Brave New World, what you're looking forward to in the future, and what your theories are for Thunderbolts and for the Fantastic Four. Let us know in the comments. We want to have a conversation with you about all these things, because we are huge movie fanatics and we like talking about all things film related, especially the Marvel Cinematic Universe, based on these comic books that I've collected since I was young. So tell us in the comments below what you think. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos, and we'll see you next time right here on The Real World.